What's up, everyone? This is Cheyenne B, and you are listening to 5D Marketing Secrets Radio. So here's the real mystery. How do real spiritual-based business owners like us grow a large following of our soulmate clients who are begging to pay us for our skills and gifts? How do we increase sales and make a contribution while also making a killer income? That is the blaring question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Cheyenne Burnett, and welcome to 5D Marketing Secrets Radio. Hey, you brilliant and beautiful beings of light. I am so excited to deliver you this week's episode of 5D Marketing Secrets Radio. Now, I know it probably sounds like all of my interviews are my absolute favorite. And honestly, it would be absolutely impossible to choose. But I will say, having the opportunity to sit down with Suzanne Ross from Sci-Spy TV was an absolute blast. So this is a long interview, and there's so many good just nuggets of amazing advice that Suzanne gives. But I really want to point out the title that I gave this interview as we dive in, because I called it the ultimate cheat code for growing your spiritual practice. So take a listen and see if you can figure out what the cheat code that I'm referencing is. You'll find the answer at the end, but no cheating. You have to listen to Suzanne, because I'm telling you, this interview, she really lays out so many great things that she has done to grow her spiritual practice over 2 decades. So that is somebody worth taking advice from. Enjoy. I want to get to know you better, because from the second you started coming into my space, it's been nothing but amazing stuff. And you do so many different things. So for our listeners, will you kind of, because you do a couple of different things. You have your own energy healing and business that way, but you also do the events and you do a couple of things. So kind of, will you tell us exactly what it is you do?
Absolutely. So I really got started in the field of wellness back in 1995. I'm going to show my age a bit. But I was working in the corporate world. I, had gone to San Diego State to get my business degree, and, was all about the American dream. And I married a corporate executive, and, we got our big house and we had our Porsche and our pool, and I was totally miserable. I really was.
I love that.
It's true. It really is. The corporate world just wasn't for me. We had got relocated to the East Coast, which I really felt misplaced in growing up in Southern California.
Oh, I can see that.
And
very different.
So it wasn't just, the corporate world. It was the geography as well. And I just, my physical health didn't jive with the East Coast. I had eczema and all kinds of different problems, but emotionally and mentally, like the corporate world and the mean-spirited politics were really killing me. And so I was just miserable. And about the time when I decided that, I had to do something different, my parents contacted me from the desert of Southern California and invited me to come out to their home in the desert. And I decided that's what I needed, was a sunny break from it all, because it was December on the East Coast.
On top of it, it's cold and wet.
Blizzards, 30 below, nuts.
Right.
And so when I arrived in this desert of Southern California, I just had this sense in the core of my being that I had come home.
Really?
And so over the course of the next couple weeks, my family and I just really enjoyed hiking and biking, and at night we would go singing and dancing, and it was just really great. And all of a sudden one morning I woke up just panic stricken that, I was going to have to return to my life in hell.
Dang it.
And
wow.
That morning I felt called to run to the mountain range behind their house, and I just put on my shoes, ran out the door, and started running toward the mountain range. And I had tears running down my face, and I thought, if I just keep running, like, I can run away from this fate. And just ran straight up the side of the mountain, stood at the top, threw my arms up, and said, I am miserable in the extreme and I see no way out.
Yeah.
And in that moment, this total sense of calm just washed over me. And it literally felt like the air around me was hugging me. And a big flash of bright white golden light consumed me, and a voice came out of the light. And it said, can't you see you've come home? You will stay here and heal yourself and many others.
Wow.
And when I came to out of this experience, I was on my knees looking out over this desert landscape. And I just knew that was the absolute truth for me, that I would stay there and heal myself and many others.
Yeah.
And the person who ran down that mountain was not the same one who ran up it. I was filled with health and vitality and enthusiasm and excitement over my new life in the desert as a healer. And over the next 2 weeks, I just felt like this force was pushing me. Do this, do that. I went to this 5-star resort, applied for a job in wellness. They hired me on the spot without any background in wellness. It was like an afterthought to fill out the resume. They welcomed me to their family. As I was walking out into the parking lot, I thought, what have I done? Like, this is so surreal.
Yeah.
But I knew, on the other hand, that I had been aligned with my true calling. And I just was so exuberant that it had to be the true path for me.
Yeah.
And so I went home and I left my husband and I left my job.
Oh.
And I flew
I was
back.
going to ask next. I'm like, so what happened to the husband? That makes sense.
Yeah, I left him. I was done with that whole life on the East Coast. And, it was one of these things where, like, we were the perfect fit for each other on paper, and we were great friends. And I loved him, but it wasn't like I was in love with him. Yeah. I met the love of my life shortly thereafter, who completely swept me off my feet. Aww. And there's my doggy. Oh.
That was funny. I thought it might be your husband.
Whoa, hey. He's like, yeah, here I am.
He's like, yeah, that's me.
Very funny.
I love that.
My dog does not like it when I have that door closed.
Really?
He's like, no. Come in and see what you're doing.
Right?
Anyways.
That's awesome.
So long story short, I stayed there and healed myself and many others, just like the voice said I would. I opened a wellness center, and it just kept expanding and growing. And so I knew health and wellness was my true calling. And I've been doing it ever since. And it's taken on many different shapes. It's morphed into this, that, and the other. Initially, it was more about fitness and nutrition. But then I became aware that my clients could experience total health and well-being if I offered something for the mind and the spirit. And as I stepped onto a spiritual path and became more and more deeply spiritual, then they could see, like, I want some of what you're on, girl.
Right?
I was like, okay, I need to offer, like, a workshop that is inclusive of all those.
So how long ago was that? Because that's a huge transition for somebody to just go from corporate and married and on the East Coast to just literally dropping it all and starting over. How long ago was it that you just started completely over and moved back to California?
It's been over 20 years.
Really?
Yeah.
It's been a minute. Had a chance to kind of get past the hurdles. That can't have been an easy thing, even having such a profound moment, having to walk away from all of that couldn't have been an easy experience still, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because, most people have thought I lost my mind, and I knew I found it. I mean, I just did. And even though, some of my family was like, you had the American dream. Like, what are you doing? You're just starting all over, in fitness? What is this? And, but then other family members were like, sweetie, I just want you to be happy. And if this is it, we can make it work. And it never occurred to me that I wouldn't be successful for a minute.
Like
So I just dove in and made it successful, and I loved every minute of it. I couldn't believe my good fortune, to live in this incredibly beautiful desert. It was funny. One of the things I did was to teach water aerobics.
Really?
And, at this 5-star resort, and they had this incredibly beautiful Olympic-sized pool surrounded by palm trees and all of these beautiful flowers. And, tourists would come and they'd be so excited to be there. And I mean, it was laughable because, a few years earlier, I was like flying around the country as this business executive,
Right.
and here now I'm dancing in the pool, thinking but this, it was like paradise there. And it's like, this is what I do now, So it was only one of the things that I did, but, it was really great.
That's amazing. I mean, it's truly, there's so many people out there, I think, that are in that place where they're stuck in that corporate life or that traditional space, and they know that they need to be somewhere else. And so it's amazing to hear how you just did it. I love that.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the spiritual path, after I had the experience on the mountaintop, it was like, wow, what was that?
Right.
And was that like this great power from beyond? Like, who was speaking to me through this, white light? And I knew that there was something very divine about what had happened, and stepped on sort of what I call a Hay House spiritual path, where I was really into Wayne Dyer and Doreen Virtue, like the Hay House authors.
That makes sense.
And that was the start. That was the start.
Okay.
But in 2008, I had another significant shift, and I moved to Northern California with my husband, and had to start over kind of to find my new niche. And I also became inspired to step on a Buddhist path. My sister was Buddhist. And gosh, I just found it to be incredibly beautiful, very profound, very powerful meditations. And that really has laid the foundation, for my spiritual growth ever since, even though I've definitely expanded into ascended masters and archangels and, other celestial and galactic beings.
Right.
But that was certainly, the start, and had some very magical, miraculous things take place doing Buddhist meditation.
Really? So what was it? Because obviously, so you had this really big internal conflict happening for you when you first left the East Coast and came home. But then you just said in 2008 something else happened. What was it for you that all of a sudden changed your path again? Was there something catastrophic, or did something happen to you? Like what made you go down that route after you had just already made such a big direction change?
Well, thank you for asking, because it's an important part of my journey. And this is where I can really speak to people too, is I had a classic dark night of the soul, and I'm very transparent about it. And I wrote about it in my book, Wake Up. And someone the other day said something that really resonated with me. They said, you can't have the spark without the dark. And so many people I know have such a profound awakening after a dark night of the soul.
Right.
So now I'm really grateful for it. But what happened is this town where my dream came true, literally became a ghost town. There were a couple of things that happened. One had to do with SDG&E sort of utility scam, that the governor had been in cahoots with the utility company, and all the utilities in the San Diego area had doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and businesses that had been in business for generations went out of business for good. And it was really catastrophic to the whole San Diego County area, and this governor was indicted for it ultimately. But that had a major impact on this town where my business had started. But then 9/11, because most of my businesses were retired wealthy golfers in the desert of Southern California, and this was their second, third home. And after 9/11, being heavily vested in the stock market, they just bailed. They just walked away. And this town became a ghost town. In fact, the 5-star resort where I got my first job, they put chain link fences up around it with no trespassing signs. And as this town just died, I experienced a personal death, and things became very dark for me. And I really spiraled downward as I just saw my business fall apart, and my clientele go away. But I was determined to hang on, even though my husband had moved a couple of years prior. He's like, this town's dying. I'm out of here. And I'm like, well, this is my baby. This is my business. I'm not leaving. Like, I'll make this work. And so too much free time and a lot of the people in town without jobs. And I started partying with them and kind of turned to the bottle to drown myself in my sorrows. And fortunately, that only went on for about a year. And my husband plucked me out of that situation and brought me up to Northern California and said, this is not going to happen to my beautiful wife. And so in that moment, it really felt like I was literally turned away from the darkness, turned toward the light. And the light was so brilliant that I knew I would never look away from it again. And then the Buddhist path and these meditations of bringing in golden nectar in through your crown, down through the soles of your feet, filling your entire body with this golden light was such a powerful practice. And I love nature. I love walking out in nature. So I would walk in nature and do this practice. And I had no idea how powerful it could be to walk out in nature as this like glowing golden light body. And miracles happened. I mean, I experienced shifts in the reality, like shifting into another dimensional experience of the reality. And I started to understand that all of reality was holographic. I understood the subatomic nature of reality as if I had, gone to university for quantum physics. My sister came to visit and she's like, who are you? And what have you done with my sister? As I'm explaining quantum physics, to her.
Wow.
So, yes. And another really profound thing that happened is I joined this center called the Awakening Center.
Okay.
And
I saw
they
that
are connected to well, and that was like in 2009, and now I'm CEO. But back then,
I didn't know that. Jeez.
Right?
Good for you.
It was so interesting. I love this conversational style. Yes. So I'm on my spiritual path, and I'm listening to Ram Dass in my headset. Right? Taking these long walks. I love him. He talks like a hippie, He's like, oh, that guy was such a cool cat, and he's talking about how, he went on this like big, spiritual quest to meet this Indian guru, and he's just hilarious, but very deep. And so I'm listening, and he's telling me that working with the dying is incredibly powerful for the dying and for the person themselves. Now, I had been wanting to volunteer. I don't know why, but I kept getting this, I want to volunteer. I have some free time. And I thought, I'll volunteer as a hospice worker, And so I went to Kaiser. I enrolled in their hospice program. And so interesting, when you're taking hospice training, the person teaching the class asks over and again, you guys know what you're signing up for? Are you sure you really want to do this? Like being with dying people?
Awkward.
Right?
Yeah,
you
really want to do this.
Right? And so you kind of go, yeah, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? But Ram Dass told me to do it.
Right.
So one day I went into the break room at Kaiser. We had a break, and I'm standing there with the other students, and I see on the wall this big poster, and it says Awakening Center in Brentwood. And I was like, oh my God, there's a spiritual community here. And so I was so excited. I wrote the number down. I ran out to my car. I jumped in my car, and I called, and this man answered, and he goes, have you ever heard of Ram Dass? And I was like, no way.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
I know.
How awesome.
Divine synchronicity.
Seriously. You can't deny it. It's too in sync for it not to be.
Right? I was
That's
so
incredible.
stunned. I about dropped the phone. And I said, well, this is meant to be. So when can you see me? I'm coming over.
Yeah.
So, they were connected with the Himalayan Institute, which was so fascinating because I had been into Buddhism. But now this was more like the ancient Rig Veda, Shiva, Shakti, Vishnu, Krishna, like sort of this more Hindu style Buddhist spiritual path. But there was many, similarities, of course, but I totally got into it. And then they had these Himalayan gurus that would come visit. And so I actually became a disciple of this guru. And he was coming to do a personal mantra initiation. And the owners of the Awakening Center were like, Suzanne, you want to sign up for that? I'm like, oh yeah, of course. I'm like up for anything.
Sure.
And they're going, well, you might want to fasten your seatbelt because this is going to change everything. It's
Really?
going to change your perception, and I'm like, I'm in. So I sit outside this room and then, the guru says, okay, you can enter now. And so I'm sitting on this little yoga, pillow, and he starts to go into this like trance meditation, and I start like vibrating. We're both like vibrating as the energy gets more intense. And then he leans over and he sings in my ear this personal mantra that I'm not supposed to share with anybody, but let's use the universal mantra. So he sings in my ear, Om Mani Padme Hum Om. He's just like singing it. I'm like, wow, this is so profound.
Wow.
And then he's done. So I'm like, thank you. And he goes, no, stop, stay, sit. And he put his hand on my forehead, and we just sat there like that. And my body was just trembling as I could feel that he was transmitting all of this knowledge and wisdom into my being, into my third eye.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so, go ahead.
Amazing. Oh, I was just going to say, it's so funny to me how crazy it sounds, and yet so it's true, right? It's amazing the things that can be experienced in this world.
Intention.
Mm-hmm.
I think intention, and something to do with quantum gravity waves that binary code intelligence travels on. And I just had my heart space wide open, and his too.
Yeah.
And we were just able to share in this really profound moment. And it was interesting because I was instructed to walk out into the rose garden after this. And I was a little annoyed by that when I walked out of the room. Like, all I wanted to do was go lie down on the bed.
Right? You're exhausted from all that energy.
Right? And I felt like I wanted to go lie down and assimilate this.
Yeah.
In a dark, quiet room. But no, they said, you got to go right out to the rose garden. So, okay. Wow. I stepped out into the rose garden, and I just looked around, and I felt such a sense of oneness with everything, with all living things and beings. And I reached out to the rose, and the rose reached right back to me. And I knew that we shared the same life force. Wow. In that moment, I knew there was one life force that was illuminating all living things and beings, all of reality. But what was it? And in a moment, I knew that it was love, pure love, flowing from the divine source, illuminating all life.
Wow. I can't even fathom that feeling. That's amazing.
And nothing was ever the same after that.
Like, how could it be? Wow.
Now my walks out in nature I felt telepathically connected to the animals that I would
Really?
encounter on my walk. I had this walk where there would be these egrets, these big, tall, blue and gray egrets would be flying overhead along this stream. And sometimes they would land. And I always admired them. But, once I got within 20, 30 feet, they'd fly away.
Yeah.
After this experience, I could tune into those beautiful beings and express my unconditional love for them. And they would turn and they would look right at me, and I would look at them, and I would just keep looking at them and sending them all the love in my heart. And I could get closer and closer and closer until I got, within 10 feet, and I could just stand there, and the bird would just stand there, and we would just look at each other. And it was like that, there was an intense connection.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And then what do you do with that? Like all of a sudden you have all of this new, like these new relationships and this new energy
Right.
and this new, like, how do you transition into like applying that to life in this third dimension space? It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's when the voice started coming in.
Really?
This is when the voice started coming out of the sky, giving me instructions. And that's the God's honest truth. These walks were so powerful. I'm just tuning into everything and so connected with all of creation. And this is when this voice comes through. And this voice comes through and tells me, you're going to write a book about the evolution of consciousness.
Wow.
And I'm like, uh-huh. Like, really? I'm a fitness and nutrition coach at a health club? Like, that is so not in my realm of,
Wow. Yeah.
And the voice is like, you'll figure it out. And so at the time, I had this insatiable thirst for knowledge.
Yeah.
Like, I was reading everything I could get my hands on, from science to spirituality to religion, ancient cultures, anything that would talk about who we are, where we come from, why we're here, where we're going. And my books, now I've got 500 books on my shelves, I'm just like reading everything. And in this moment of trying to understand, what's going on with me, it occurred to me that I was seeking one answer. And that was, what is the meaning and purpose of life? Because I remembered, 10 years ago when I was standing in my kitchen on the East Coast working in the corporate world, that I walked out one morning and said, if there isn't any more meaning and purpose to life than this, fighting brutal traffic, fighting brutal politics, fighting traffic to get back home, going to bed, getting up, do it all over again. It was like, if there's no more meaning and purpose to life than this, like, I'm out of here, And I never had found what is the meaning and purpose of life, And so one day I was walking, have all these files in my head, all these books I've read, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm walking with my head down, all determined, like, meaning and purpose, meaning and purpose. And suddenly I felt a tap on my shoulder. And I looked up, and in the sky, in skywriting, I kid you not, it said, meaning to create, purpose to evolve.
Wow. I'm going to need to write that one down.
It's written in here.
I just need to get that, Kate.
By the way, this is me on the mountaintop with my story about running up to the mountaintop and throwing my arms up at dawn.
Oh, I love that. Kate, where do I get the book?
Oh, good. Yeah, so, I knew it was a miracle, and I was in awe, but then I just was relieved. I was like, thank you.
Right?
It's like a basic answer. It's like, of course the meaning of life is to create, and the purpose is to evolve. Like, duh.
It seems so simple when you think about it that way, but it's just not. Like, we don't naturally come to that conclusion.
Right?
Yeah.
So I took it a little further,
Okay.
and I had gotten this instruction to write books, and it occurred to me that I would write 3 books, because originally it was a 30-day book. And this gal who was working with me at the time, she was like, 30 days. And then she's like, evolution of consciousness? What's consciousness? And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like, that's really heady. Like,
Right.
and who's going to read a 30-day book? Like, we're lucky to get someone's attention for 30 seconds, let alone 30 days,
True.
Right. So the concept evolved to 3 10-day books, and one would be for the
Gotcha.
mind, and one
Okay.
would be for spirit, and the third one is activating the light body, and that's coming out in
Wow.
2020. But this one's for the mind. This is liberating your mind from limiting beliefs. Because
Okay.
spirit guided me that the mind has to be first. We have to liberate our mind from limiting beliefs about who we are, what we're capable of. We have to transform that programming, that
Mhm.
negative programming that we're not good enough and never will be.
Right.
And, I don't know where this comes from necessarily. I could make a few guesses, but I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of that,
We could
but
talk about that for 2 hours, you and me, just on, just on that subject, I'm sure.
right. We could start with the Anunnaki.
Right. Or the
The
cabal
serpent.
or whatever else you right, depending on what beliefs and directions
Like
you
the elite and the cabal. But
yeah.
certainly there has been a force, trying to
Doesn't matter what
convince
you call
us
it.
that we are not good enough and never
Right.
will be. And so I wanted to use a completely original program of transformation, because I'd gone to workshops, read so many books, like I didn't want to copy anybody. So I
Yeah.
said, Spirit, download me with something that's going to be really effective. And it downloaded me with a karmic cause and effect analysis. And what it is an opportunity for people to reflect on the most transformational experiences of their life, good, bad, or otherwise, and then identify the causes. What were the causes that led up to this? And then what effect did they have on themselves and others? And in doing so, the lessons that are hidden within become crystal clear, especially as you start to reflect on one experience after the next, and you
Right.
realize the patterns and the things that you keep repeating that aren't necessarily conducive to your well-being or the well-being of others.
That makes sense.
So once you sort of get down to that, then I give you a process by which you can revisit these experiences with all of your senses. You can forgive yourself and others.
Wow.
You can reshape the experience itself so that there is more love and joy and compassion and kindness and, of course, forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it's very powerful, and I'm so delighted that Spirit downloaded that for me. Of course, in the book, I also offer meditation, spiritual guidance, and journaling. And so the meditations in the book are all audio downloads on my site. These books are available at SuzanneRossWellness.com
Okay.
because I created a whole website where not only do I have all of the audio meditations in both of my books, but I also offer services, because a few years ago came to Sedona and had another whole explosion. This time my crown chakra opened.
Oh, good.
And I started to receive all of this information about multidimensional realms, how to tune into multidimensional realms of consciousness. And as I did, beings would step forward and introduce themselves. And I realized who these beings were, one of them being my own aspects. So I was shown this vision that we, as the eternal children, the son and daughter
Mm-hmm.
of Mother, Father, God, who live in the infinite realm, the infinite source that is the womb of all that is, projected its consciousness through a portal from infinity into eternity because they couldn't create in infinity. So they needed to create a realm in which they could create a realm that had a beginning and no ending.
Interesting.
And so therein lies this eternal realm at the center of creation. And this is the realm of divine perfection, where everything is in its 100% divine blueprint. And these are the children that Mother, Father, God created. And they stand in this eternal existential realm where they exist as perfect beings, but they had this desire to know themselves and to experience love by creating, projecting these experiential realms.
Interesting.
Mentally projecting dimensions where they could experience love and know thyself. And so these are mental holographic pictures of these fragmented aspects of themselves. And what I see is that is the 12th dimension. And what they are projecting is incarnational dimensions 3 through 11. 1 is always source. 2 is the realm of the elementals, sacred geometry, where creation creates itself. And then 3D is like the lowest density for incarnated beings. And I always wondered, like, why do we only use 10% of our brain? And why do they say like 90% of our DNA is junk, which we know can't be true, that God doesn't create junk.
Right.
So it occurred to me, I was shown in this holographic movie a couple of days before I was going to present on stage at Cosmic Awakening, that this isn't just this beautiful soul reunion that returns people to wholeness. Every time you connect somebody into another aspect of who they are in these higher dimensions, you activate their dormant DNA, you raise their vibrational frequency, because we are here in 3D only 10% of who we are as a whole being. And when you add 4D, it's 20, and 5D is 30. And I figured out it goes all the way up to 11D, where it's 90, and 12D, the eternal realm, is 100% of our perfect divine blueprint. So that just added a whole nother layer of like, wow, why this?
So do we all contain all of that DNA right now, and it's just not activated? It's just all sitting inside of us as we're just kind of keeping ourselves stuck here?
Within each and every cell of our being, there are DNA strands. And here in 3D, only 10% of those strands are activated unless we make a conscious effort to activate the dormant DNA. And I have found that this is one very powerful way to do that. And as you do that, then you start to tap into psychic abilities. You expand your awareness. You become, you can use telekinesis, like ultimately in the higher dimensional, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to teleport, because, right, these are innate abilities that we have within our beings. We've just, we just are only 10% of who we are here. And this is what 3D looks like. It's a comparative reality of good and bad, dark and light. And so, but we're here to learn very unique lessons. There's nothing wrong with 3D. It's just some of us awaken to a greater possibility, and we're done with 3D. Like, we want to transcend this realm of suffering.
For sure.
Right?
For sure. Well, that actually brings up a really good question. So you are one of the few people who have had these just enormous experiences of downloads over and over again in your life. And then you've successfully taken that and created tools for people like me and other people to use to increase our own vibration and our own frequency. Suzanne, how have you done that in a way that you've stayed in line with your integrity, and you've taken this massive download from source and turned it into tools and things, and then created a way to get it out there to people that allows you to do that and create abundance for yourself? How do you do that and stay in your integrity like you've done? Because you've done an exceptional job of that. That was a long question.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. Well, when my book Wake Up launched, I knew I wanted to have a book launch. And as I thought about it, I thought, I'm not going to get up on stage all by myself, for like a whole day, and it's like all about me and my book, and I'm thinking, nah, I didn't feel right. And I knew all these other people who were in the wellness industry, and some of them were authors. I lived in the Bay Area. Oh. And so I just started reaching out to people and said, hey, I'm going to have this 2-day event, and I'm going to invite all my, colleagues who are in the wellness industry, who are speakers, authors, or just exceptional spiritual practitioners who are really passionate about what they do. And we'll all get up on stage, we'll have a great time. And so I hired someone to film the whole thing. When I got home and I started looking at the footage of these passionate speakers who were so well-versed and really so dedicated to the health and well-being of others, sincerely and authentically, I knew that I wanted to get this footage out there. Yeah. And I was aware of social media, but, this was back in 2012. And so it wasn't as prevalent as it is now, but I was seeing the beginnings of YouTube and Facebook, of course. And so I just thought, let me get it out there on social media. I'll create videos. Well, how do you do that? Well, you have to have video editing software. Right. It's funny. It occurred to me early on when I was writing my books, and I was so fascinated by these authors who had written these remarkable books, right? Yeah. And one of the series, have you ever heard of the Law of One series?
Yes.
I got enamored by the Law of One.
Say that again.
Yeah. This series is remarkable, and it's really? These 3 people who started doing meditation. This gentleman who started meditation classes for college students, and anyways, he ended up meeting this one college student, Carla Rucker. His name was Don Elkins. Carla Rucker, and he said, hey, maybe you can be my assistant. And then there was Jim McCarty, and he said, if you're going to be my assistant, you need to refine your meditation skills so that you can start channeling, because in this meditation group, people would spontaneously start channeling, and even a being materialized once, right?
Oh my gosh.
So, she said, okay, I'll do my best. So they had this the 3 of them, Jim McCarty would hold the space, create the energy, and, and they had this, Carla Rucker would lay on this bed, and you had a candle, Bible open to John, you had a virgin chalice, which is a cup that's never been drank out of, and a candle, incense, she had to be facing northeast. And, to tune her into that spirit that wanted to come through, which was Ra, this 6-dimensional group Ra. And so she starts channeling, and oh my goodness, Dawn is asking questions about the greatest mysteries of creation. Wow. Where did we come from? Yeah. But things, who built the Egyptian pyramids? Who's Bigfoot? Who were the Mayans? All these things, and Ra just comes through, and then also spiritual teachings, about chakras. So I was enamored with this book series, and I thought, what if I reached out to Carla Rucker, to interview her? And I'm thinking, what am I thinking? I'm who am I? This little, Suzanne out in Oakley, and I thought, what the heck? I reached out, and for goodness sake, she reached back, and she's like, absolutely, I'd love to interview with you. And I'm like, really? And that was the end of that. I mean, I should say that was the beginning.
Right.
my path as an interviewer, along with the book launch thing, which made me want to interview everybody and put them on film. So I set up a TV studio in my master bedroom, and people would come and we'd sit in the corner on these chairs with the green screen, you know. And anyways, Voice America TV saw what I was doing and creating. At the time, I was still working at a health club as a wellness instructor and mind, body, spirit, you know, coach.
Yeah.
But so that was income. And then Voice America TV saw what I was doing. They invited me to have a show on their network, which would be a weekly show. Wow. Now, mind you have to pay to be on Voice America TV.
Okay.
So it's a great opportunity, and it really gave me, you know, the chance to like refine my editing skills. I had to have a weekly guest, so I really had to get out there and peddle this, you know, but sort of the format is that, you know, while you have to pay to be on it, if you're really industrious and enthusiastic, you get other people to like come on your show, and you'll promote their books and you'll promote their services, and you'll drive people to them. And then you not only can show it on Voice America TV, but you can blast their thing all over the internet, and you can give it to them and they can blast it all over the internet. And so it became a valuable thing for them. So then I started charging, and so I charged people. Plus I was editing, right? So I was creating something beautiful for them with music, themes, titles, graphics, and they were like, wow, I love this. And I make a commercial for them, you know, like a little 1-minute commercial, charge extra for that. And I mean, I felt really good about it because they were really happy with it, and video was becoming really popular. And so I was giving them something that they could take away. Plus Voice America TV had 5 million people tuning into their site every month. Yeah. So it was great. And that is how I earned income while refining my editing skills and getting very interconnected with this industry. So
very cool. Very cool. So it kind of it evolved on its own, but it ended up you were able to utilize skills and provide value to were you mostly focused on just people in the spiritual business space with your interviews?
Personal development as well.
Okay.
Personal development, health and wellness, and spirituality. Yeah.
Very cool. And then you have taken that and then you've transitioned into a whole nother side because now you have your own network, right?
Yes.
And so
network. Well, when I moved to Sedona, you know what? It was crazy. In 2012, I was sitting in meditation and I heard this voice. I swear to God, this voice, it just comes out of nowhere, but it almost is strange. It feels like you hear this voice, you hear it in your head, and you wonder, like, is this voice coming from inside me or outside me? And then you just forget, it doesn't even matter. You know, it's like you're getting these messages and they're so loud and clear. Yeah. And it's like, in 2015, you and Scott will move to Sedona. And I'm like, okay. I get up and I write that on my vision board, right?
Right.
And I put it in my closet. And lo and behold, after that, like, I go to work, I go to the grocery store, I go hang out with my friends, and everybody is going, have you ever heard of Sedona? You and Scott would really love Sedona. You know, Sedona is very spiritual. My husband's really into dune buggies. They're like, dune buggies are street legal in Sedona. I'm like, wow. Okay. I'm seeing Sedona t-shirts, bumper stickers, like crazy. What? So in 2014, my husband promised me he'd take me to the Grand Canyon. And so I said, on the way there, can we like go through this Sedona place? And so sure, you know, oh my God, I get goosebumps every time I tell. When I tell this on stage, I like weep, you know, but I came around the corner. We came around the corner coming through Oak Creek, and as soon as we hit these magnificent red rock temples, I was just awestruck, and I wept, and I was speechless and breathless, and I knew I'd come home. Once again, I knew I had come home.
Wow. And so same feeling as California.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
That's a pretty good
Right? And so I look at my husband and I'm like, well, we have to figure out a way to move to Sedona. He's like, I work in telecom in the Silicon Valley. I really don't see how my career is going to flourish here in the Crystal City of Light. Well, we'll figure it out. So we go back home after our vacation. A couple weeks later, my husband walks in the door just like pale. I just got laid off. And I'm like,
what?
Holy crap. What? And we're stunned because like he's got, an excellent reputation. I guess his company's downsizing, and we're stunned.
Oh
like, what are we going to do? And so he starts the job search. Nothing's panning out in the Bay Area, which is nuts. It's like the headquarters for telecom, and
yeah.
I'm thinking, something's going on here. Didn't you used to consult for a company in Phoenix? And he goes, oh, yeah. I used to, do these blueprints for telecom. Anyways.
Yeah.
I said, get in your truck and go drive there. Just go drive there and meet up with that guy, and see what's going on. And next thing you know, like,
wow.
he's hired. And in 2015, Scott and I moved to Sedona.
Just like that. It was easy and effortless.
Just like the vision board said, right? Like after he got hired to work in Phoenix, he said, of course, I'll like live in Phoenix during the week and you can live in your dream place of Sedona. And I said, okay, I have something to show you. And I take him upstairs and I open the closet and I'm like, look what I wrote in 2012. And he's like, what? You got me fired.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love it.
Right. The power of vision boards to manifest.
It's
you set an intention and it was a powerful intention because it's not like it even came from me.
Right.
Spirit was guiding this. And once that force, I think, gets set in motion, you're just along for the ride. And
That's
so moving to Sedona really just expanded everything in all directions because the electromagnetic energy here is so powerful that, everything is amplified.
Yeah.
And so the career in conscious media morphed. Mm-hmm. And I had met this gal, Shakina Rose. She's my co-host for this upcoming event. We knew each other. The minute I saw her, it was like, I know you. Yeah, from past lives, from other places, realms and dimensions, Somewhere. And so we decided that we would go out on the land once a week. And we did. And what came out of that was we discovered we could have telepathic meditations. And we both saw our future. And that included creating a television series called Supernatural Sedona. And she just shouted it out one day at Transformation Tree. She shouted out, Supernatural Sedona. And I was like, what? Wow, yeah, it's supernatural, man. She's like, no, it's a TV series. What? Wow. So we took off with Supernatural Sedona. It was awesome. We got like all these authors who'd written books about Sedona to go out on the land with us. And we created this awesome footage and I'm editing. And then we had events. We've had like 4 Supernatural Sedona events. And people come from all over. People love to come to Sedona, so it's easy to get people to come here.
Right.
And that turned into supernatural adventures around the globe and into the cosmos and got the attention of some gals from Hollywood. And so one thing just led to the next. Ultimately, I was sitting in meditation and this new genre downloaded, sci-fi. Sci-fi, like sci-fi? Yeah, but it's science and spirituality. It's merging science and spirituality.
Yeah.
Like quantum physics and spirituality, like so many people are talking about now. And I was like, whoa, wow, that's cool. So I trademarked it. And then I'm like, now what? And, Spirit just laid it out. You're going to create a whole brand new internet TV network. Wow. And all these people who've always said they wanted to have shows, you'll create shows for them. And, it became really cool because Voice America TV's got a great, setup for those who, really want to get started on a path. Plus they have this great audience. But I would hear once in a while, and it would stick in my head, I should get paid for sharing my knowledge and wisdom. I know you're going to promote me and all, but I shouldn't have to pay to share my knowledge and wisdom with the world. Like,
yeah.
And I would think, well, that's the way it works here. So you're going to pay or you're not going to, but I would always think, you're right. You're right. You're really right.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to create a network where these highly gifted, advanced teachers of spirituality, also health and wellness, personal development, also advanced civilizations, also ufologists, and quantum physicists. So we've got it all now on this network. There's over 20 shows. We're adding shows all the time. We're adding episodes every day, every week, new shows. Every month it's expanding. And it is Sci-Fi TV, merging science and spirituality. I have my own show, Lighten Up TV, discussions with global thought leaders, where I've got over 50 interviews with the world's leading, high consciousness movers and shakers. And I'm really proud of that show. But also Supernatural Sedona's on there, as well as Supernatural Adventures. And then, the list just goes on of the people who have shows on the network. And now, it's a subscription-based network.
Yeah.
So $5.55, $5. It's the cost of a price. It's the price of a cup of coffee, a Starbucks coffee to subscribe to scispy.tv. And you will be so glad that you did, because the shows are just, incredibly impactful. And, some of the shows are just like 8 to 10 minutes long. So you just get like this supersonic boost, or some of them are a half hour. And, we're also making 1 to 2 hour films and documentaries. So, all kinds of different shows and films and series. And it's really, really exciting. And this is my baby now. And it's a subscription share network. So all the hosts will share in the subscription revenue and finally get paid for sharing their knowledge and wisdom. That's another way.
I love that. That actually brings up a really big point, because when I first started, my path into the spiritual business space, it came up a lot, where some people think that this stuff should be free. It should be projected into the world, and anybody that's an energy healer or a psychic, all of this stuff should be free knowledge dispersed, and people should just be able to take advantage of it. And I have my own reasons, because I don't do those things, right? But I have my own reasons for believing that that's not how it should be. But I'm really interested to know, Suzanne, why you believe spiritual business owners and people providing this kind of knowledge should be paid. Why is that something you believe?
Because money just really represents value.
Yeah.
It's really energy. And so all that we're saying is that this knowledge and wisdom is valuable. And of course, it is incredibly valuable, right? Because it inspires people to expand their minds,
Absolutely.
And stimulate their spirit. It helps people grow on their spiritual path and experience more joy, peace, harmony, and unity than they could ever have possibly imagined. Mm-hmm. So, what we're offering as spiritual practitioners, or even if we're in personal development or health and wellness dedicated to, the health and well-being of all, this type of programming or sessions or books or events, make such a powerful and positive difference in people's lives, more so than anything else I could possibly think of. It's inspiring, it's empowering, and it helps you evolve. It helps you progress on your evolutionary journey, you know? And once you find this, once you ignite this divine spark within your being and realize who you are truly as an eternal soul, as a divine being, knowing that we are all of and from the same divine source, you know, this type of knowledge gives you more power than anything else in the world.
I agree.
And it's pure, you know, and this radiance that comes from you once you start walking on this path is contagious. You know, you radiate this beautiful, brilliant light of love everywhere you go. And it inspires others. And it's very empowering. So, you know, it's simply saying that this has value.
I agree.
And people recognize that it has value, you know. But it's also good to realize who you're, you know, like reaching out to. You're going to have a spectrum of people from really very mainstream to very advanced. So, you know, that's why I've got over 20 shows. And you also have different interests. You know, so people come at it from different ways. Like, this is a UFO hotspot, you know? And like, I'm not a huge ufologist or anything, but I'm a lifelong experiencer. My father had an abduction experience when he was 18. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Very incredible experience of missing time and being implanted with a little metal triangular object in his wrist.
Really?
After that missing time experience when he was 18 and all growing up, he called it his alien chip. And he would hold it. And after his experience, he was recruited by NCR and became a leader on the front lines of the computer age. And there's just
NCR. I'm sorry. What's that?
NCR's National Cash Register Company.
Okay,
so
I feel like I knew what it was, but I wasn't ringing a bell. Wow.
NCR and IBM really started around the same time, and they were the two companies who originally started out with cash registers.
Yeah.
But of course, you know, kept evolving and expanding into computers. And, you know, when I was a little kid, my dad would take me to these computer rooms, and these computers were the size of rooms. These were like gigantor computers that would spit out this green line paper, right? Like, anyways. So, but it was really wild that, you know, after his missing time experience that he had this chip, and then he became like this incredibly brilliant genius, you know. But growing up, you know, he was always pointing to the sky, and there was all these strange light anomalies in the sky, and we knew the names of all the constellations, you know.
Yeah.
So
how cool.
I was pretty psychic as a kid.
Really?
You know, when we grew up in Mount Shasta. Yeah, he transferred to Mount Shasta, so I grew up playing in the forests of Mount Shasta, and fairies and trolls were like my friends. It didn't seem unusual to me, and you know, so a lot of paranormal experiences throughout my entire life. And even here now in Sedona, my friends and I had a 4-hour missing time experience on my back deck after we saw this big bright light in the sky. That is when I came back and could see into interdimensional realms.
Holy cow.
You know, so I believe they take people on board who are willing.
Yeah.
And download them with advanced knowledge.
Wow.
And wisdom and technology, you know, to help usher in this new higher dimensional reality. So, you know, we've got shows about UFOs. We've got ancient civilization shows. Yeah. We've got a lot of the people from Ancient Aliens have shows and are on the network. You know, because I'm a huge fan of Ancient Aliens show.
Yeah.
Because they go to sacred sites around the world and teach us all this stuff about, you know, those cultures who were so spiritual and connected.
Right? I love that.
So, you know, ultimately my answer really has with multiple streams. So I offer sessions. I offer, in a moment, I was shown like 10 sessions you're going to offer, starting with past life regression, energy center attunement, higher self-alignment, because we have to start out in 3D and figure out who you are in different 3D timelines. And then let's give you some energy center attunements and higher self-alignment before we go into like the big Shangri-La session, which is the multidimensional soul reunion, because it's really high frequency.
You don't just go from from 3D
no,
to
you just like short circuit people's nervous system, right?
Yeah.
So, and we'll just do a few dimensions at once, over the course. And then we get into divine purpose and divine mission, and so really powerful sessions. I love doing my sessions. I've got the TV network. I've got my book, which are all workshops. And so they're, audio downloads from my site of meditations, activations, initiations. The sessions are also on my site, SuzanneRossWellness.com.
Okay.
SciSpi TV is SCISPI.tv. And then I have events.
Gotcha.
And we have an event coming up, Beyond the Matrix, a 5D Ascension experience. I am so excited about this event. I can't even tell you. One of my heroes, Barbara Handclough, has written over 20 books over the last 40 years. She was such a pioneer on this path. She dedicated her entire life to this, to the awakening and ascension of humanity, and an icon and a legend. And she wrote the foreword to my book, Foreword by Barbara Handclough, which meant so much to me. And now she's going to speak at this event. The first time she's spoken in years at this event. And Maureen St. Germain, who's currently the best-selling author of Waking Up in 5D, Tricia McCannon, several best-selling books about angels, Jesus and the Mystery Schools, The Divine Sophia, Dr. Louis Turi, who is world famous for his ability to predict natural disasters and such, but he's also known for being a master hypnotherapist, and he's going to put us all under a light hypnosis so that we can access our superconscious minds. I could go on and on.
I love
we're also
the list.
Thank you. I was inspired to do this on the spring equinox.
Okay.
Now it's a Wednesday, right? People are like, you can't have an event on a Tuesday, Wednesday. Right. I'm like, oh, but I can, and I will, because Wednesday is the spring equinox.
Yeah.
Tuesday, we will prepare. On the morning of the equinox, we will greet the rising sun of the equinox on the grand portal of Bell Rock here in Sedona, and it is going to be explosive, the energy that we're going to create in this grand portal with all of these advanced spiritual teachers, and the beautiful participants, and the rising sun. Like the ancients built entire temples around the rising sun of the equinox. So we can get up at 6:30 on a Wednesday morning and greet the rising sun.
At least once, right? You can do it at least once. No, I will be there for sure. We've talked about this, but Maureen St. Germain and Thunderbeat, Devra, the sound healer, both are on your speaking list this year, and those have both been on my show. And Maureen is a dear friend of mine. They both are, to be honest. They're just amazing people. So that event, I know two of the speakers personally, and now I know you, and it's just going to be incredible, the amount of value. So anybody that's listening to this, if you're hearing this before that event, you have to go.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And the VIP tickets are very limited because we can only have a limited number of people on this sunrise meditation. It requires someone who has a permit, which we do.
Yeah.
My friend Crystal Starweaver. And so, we're going to go out on this grand portal. It's not that there's not enough room. It's a megalithic rock temple, but we're only allowed to have so many people at a time go and do something like this. So we are, going to be sold out of the VIP tickets for that very soon. So if you want to do that, you really need to sign up ASAP. And then the other VIP pass is dinner and mingle with the stars. So it's going to be so amazing. I'm just so excited about this event. So, after all of these incredible offerings, which are not presentations, it's not someone standing up there and giving you all this information. It's teachings and spiritual practices. So I've told all of the presenters, teachings, half your presentation, spiritual practice, the other half.
Yeah.
So that we're constantly transmitting, activating, engaging in group meditation, having group sharing. Like, this is going to be energetic in such a big way. And then when we're all wrapped up, we're all going to be like, if there's 200 people, we're all going to be closely connected. We're all going to be energetically connected. And we're going to end it with this big dinner and mingle. But that's also a VIP pass because we can only seat so many people at the restaurant. This is dinner and mingle with the stars. And so that is an additional cost, but limited seating for that. But you get to meet all of these people in person,
an amazing list.
Mingle with them and ask them all the questions you want. If you purchase their books, you can get their signature. They can sign your books. Right. And we're just gonna have so much fun. But that's not all. After dinner, Misha Johnson is going to take us out into the Red Rocks to do stargazing and UFO watching.
Wow.
She has been the owner of Vortex Tours for some time, and she has a technique of tuning you into these various vortexes, calling upon your star families to present themselves.
Yeah.
And so her history of getting UFOs on film and people witnessing and having direct contact, is really phenomenal. So she has military grade goggles that help you to, see, and it's amazing. I was at an event in Albuquerque called Stargate to the Cosmos and went out, and one of my friends got such a clear picture of a golden swirling disc. And it came right down, and I've got it on film, and he's got it on film, and it's just like, whoa, wow, we're so excited. So this is the UFO hotspot as it is. So,
right?
Anyway, this event's going to be amazing. Just go to scispi.tv, scispi.tv/events. Check it out. Check out the different options. You can also get an ultimate VIP pass that's both the meditation and the dinner and mingle, or you can get them separately. So all kinds of different options for that, whatever suits.
We'll make sure to include that link. Gosh, Suzanne, you've gone there. There's such a drastic difference in the place you started and the place you are today. Now you are the CEO of a very spiritual company, and you're putting on these huge events, and you're a best-selling author, and just what an amazing journey! Holy cow!
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Doing what I love. Very passionate. I love every living being and thing unconditionally. I just do. I always have. My mom's called me Susie Sunshine.
That's
I am very.
I can see that.
About awakening all of humanity to transcend the suffering. Yeah. I truly, truly want every being, not just on this planet, but in all of the galaxy and in all of creation, to experience peace and joy and harmony and unity. And I'm going to do everything in my power in this lifetime to make that happen.
I love that. Holy cow. Talk about a purpose. Wow. Well, for somebody who, because you are absolutely exactly the person I would want to interview for 5D, because you're the person who isn't afraid to talk about the really dark places that it took to get to who you are today. So for those spiritual practitioners out there who are really struggling to build up their business and their following, and they want to be able to dedicate their existence to it like you have, what kind of advice would you give them?
If you tune into spirit, and I just mean sit in meditation in your shrine space and dedicate yourself to that, and ask and you shall receive guidance and direction that reveals the truth of who you are, what you're meant to be doing. It will align you with your authentic self, your higher self, and align you with your true calling. And you will be shown exactly what to do, how to do, when to do it, why to do it. It's really phenomenal, so my advice is really to, trust the guidance, practice, dedicate yourself to your spiritual practice, because you open your crown chakra, you open your third eye. As woo-woo as it might sound, this guidance comes through you. And in the morning, if you do this, you will spend the rest of your day flowing in such divine synchronicity that magically all of the people and the places and the things that you need to succeed on your path will appear. They will fall in your lap. It's just true.
That. I love that.
So,
that's great advice. So you recommend meditating every morning on their intention?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you need to be attuned to your authentic self. Don't try to be what somebody else is being. Don't try to do what somebody else is doing. You're doing marketing, I'm doing my thing, writing books about conscious media.
Yeah.
That's my, role, because it's my higher self told me that this is what I was called to do.
Right.
But if I tried to do marketing, I would get stuck instantly. That's, it's challenging for me to do marketing because I just want to be creating. And I feel like, okay, you know what? I'm writing these books and creating these shows. Okay, that's enough.
That's enough.
I'm like,
yes.
That's enough. Like, somebody else needs to publicize what I do. Like, you know what I mean?
Right?
Like,
no, I get that.
Hey, not for you, But it takes a team. So don't try to do what somebody else is doing. Don't go on Facebook and compare yourself to anybody. Just have faith in who you are as a divine, magnificent being, being illuminated by the source, and just follow your spiritual guidance. It will be revealed to you. And, it's mostly spiritual, my advice and guidance. It becomes practical after you know what you're meant to do. I'm called from spirit. I'm given this genre, sci-fi. What the heck? What am I supposed to do with that? Oh, create a network. Okay, and then I can get down to the practical business of creating a network with a webmaster and everything, I have to do, tons of phone calls and all that. Writing a book. You can have a vision to write a book and you're told you're going to write a book. Oh, okay. Well, then you got to get down to the business of writing the book. But, it's spiritual first and practical second, and multiple streams. If I were to have an overriding theme, it's multiple streams.
I think that's brilliant advice.
Coming in,
Absolutely.
So be creative and resourceful and connect with your brothers and sisters, you know?
Ah, Suzanne, I love you.
I love you too.
You're fantastic.
Aw, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, here's another question, because I'm obviously personally excited about this event that you have coming up in Sedona. So on average, how many people, because tickets are selling out, so how many people typically attend this event?
We can only seat 200. So
really? So that's it.
That's where the tickets stop.
That's it. And where do so people that haven't heard of this before, because I actually heard of it from somebody who's a client of mine who Dr. Wendy Thorne attended last year, and she's the only reason that I know about you and I know about any of it. And so so obviously word of mouth, but how are people that are not familiar with this stuff finding you? Like, how do your soulmate clients find you? Is it mostly through Facebook, or do you have other places? Like, how do they find out about the network? How do they find out about your events? Where do these people come from?
You said it. I mean, word of mouth is probably the most powerful way that people hear about it. Being incredibly well connected with hundreds of people in the industry, is what it takes to make, an event be successful. And every single one of my presenters are inspired to also promote it. And, so they're out there in their social media networks, they're making phone calls, they're seeing people in the street and handing them a flyer. I go out in the street even, of course, social media. And we post, but we don't just keep posting the flyer,
Right.
like I've got videos, like if you're friends with Maureen St. Germain, you love the video she just made.
Oh, all the time. Yeah.
She makes this impassioned plea to everybody, they gotta come to Sedona,
Right.
and so I edited it and put it out there, and today I'm putting out Sarion, who's an amazing author, and he's going to do the spiritual guidance on the rock. So, I'll put his out today. And people are making their own videos,
Yeah.
About how great, it's going to be. And so we get the videos out there. Everybody puts them up on their popular YouTube channels, Twitter. I love Twitter. Okay. Now I've got a radio show. So, I'm interviewing just the presenters.
Yeah.
From now until the event. We just got a new presenter I'm so freaking thrilled about.
Really?
Gerald Orozco.
Wow.
You haven't heard of Geraldine Orozco? She is like, bam, the most highly gifted being. She had an experience of being taken up aboard a craft.
Yeah.
And introduced to her children and realized she'd been being taken up most of her life. And she went from being an event planner to like so intelligent, so incredibly well-versed on DNA, the energetic structure of our beings, quantum waves, quantum gravity. I mean, her intelligence is so advanced that it's mind-blowing that a couple of years ago she was an event planner. And
wait,
she's
what?
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful being.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I felt similarly because when I started writing books about quantum physics and sacred geometry and the elements of how we came into being, I'm like, because I'm doing it in trans-channeling. And thank goodness for voice recognition software, like Dragon Naturally Speaking. So I can go into trans-channel and I can download this information and speak it, and my computer just types it. Of course, I have to go back and fix it because my computer's like, what? It's that word. But right?
Yeah.
So she's just like whoosh, pulling through this information. And she was on my radio show last Wednesday, and I was just in awe of what she was saying. I was like having trouble keeping up, and I'm going, oh my goodness. This woman, she is going to be one of the major pioneers on the front lines. I think she's only in her mid-30s. She's fantastic. And so she's going to be presenting at our event now, and I'm super excited about that. So, I have the presenters on my shows, and then I share the archive link everywhere. Now, my friend Brooks Agnew has one of the most popular internet radio shows. He's been on the air for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
Tens of thousands of listeners. He's dedicated himself because he's a dear, sweet friend. He's having my presenters on he's been doing this for over, 6 weeks. He's been having every presenter on every Sunday night. And his show is on X Squared Radio, on Truth Frequency Radio. And it's X2-Radio, Brooks Agnew. So every Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. Mountain Time, which would be 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific, he has one of the presenters on, and he is a phenomenal radio host. So
that's awesome.
There's my answer, multiple ways. And then ultimately, I'll hit the streets of Sedona with the giant, stack of flyers. And I'll go into every store and every hotel, and I'll leave flyers in every which place I can and post them anywhere anyone will let me. So.
I think it's worth pointing out that truly from the beginning, the common thread is you have sourced in the people to help you. Like you've never tried to tackle this alone. And I think that's an incredible lesson because a lot of people do. And this is a hard journey as it is. Don't try to tackle it by yourself. Yeah.
That's why you really need to be aligned with your authentic, true calling, because you have to be supercharged,
right?
Incredibly passionate about what you're doing, and you don't consider it work. This is such a gift to be able to do what you love. So every day it's all about gratitude and just being so grateful that this is what you do, and embrace your gifts and do what you love. Because if you're not passionate about what you're doing and you don't love it, you may not reach the heights that you had hoped. Because
so true.
I get up every morning at 5:00 and I don't go to bed until after 9, doing what?
Right.
All of this. So, you have to be incredibly dedicated. You do.
Absolutely do.
It's a lot of joy, rather than saying it's a lot of work. It's a lot of joy. It's my job, joy of being.
That's fantastic. I love that, what you just said. Your job is joy. Your job is joy of being. And that's, I think, truly at the end of the day, that's what we all should be striving for, is that kind of love for it, right?
Absolutely. Because you can't just sit back and expect this is going to come to you. It will come to you.
Right.
Especially if you're tuned into source and you're, step into that divine synchronicity. But it requires a lot of time and effort and a lot of dedication and commitment, so.
How do you feel? Because for somebody like you, when you first made your transition, you were still working at the wellness center, and then you were building up your own business at the same time. And now obviously you've just added on to your own personal projects, but how do you keep your energy up, and how did you build your business while still working for somebody else?
Time management.
Yeah.
I would work at the club from 12 to 9, and I would get up at 6 and sit in meditation. And then from 7 until 11, I would write, I would interview people, I would edit my videos, spend time on social media, promoting and marketing. Yeah. So time management, my days off. Fortunately, I have a very supportive husband who is okay with me spending a lot of weekends working. Shouldn't say working, creating, but he loves to work on his dune buggy. And so I know that sounds funny, but my husband's super enthused about dune buggies. And he's got this really elaborate dune buggy with all the bells and whistles. And that's what he loves to do. And so he's
good for him.
Well, I'm still doing all my stuff, so yeah. It's just, having a supportive family who's okay with your work schedule, as well. So, but balance, I have found myself getting to points where I'll get sick because I'm not taking enough time to go to the gym, take my walks out in nature,
right.
Eat healthy food, so.
I know you recently, we just had that conversation because you recently weren't feeling too well.
Yeah. In fact, my left eye is still, you can tell, my left eye is half open. Yeah, I'm getting better, but I had shingles on the left side of my face and in my eye. I never even knew you get shingles in your eye. It's been so amazing. I had my eyes shut for 6 weeks with all this going on. What? You put me in bed with my eyes closed for 6 weeks? I don't have time for that.
I don't have time for that.
But
so
a lot of soul searching.
Right? That brings up a great point, because obviously we create these things to teach us something. What has that created for you? Because you were in the middle of working on a lot of stuff and then had to face this health challenge that all of a sudden could have negatively impacted your event. It could impact a whole bunch of stuff. How did you handle that?
I was listening to Paul Selig, who I'm so thrilled I get to interview in a couple weeks. He has this mastery trilogy, and I was already looking at his books, and when this came on and I couldn't see to work, I just laid there and I turned on his audio book, and one of the very first things he said was, "You can't be both a victim and a master at the same time." And I was like, that became my mantra
Yeah.
because this was incredibly painful. It's a nerve root thing that, like, I've never experienced such ridiculous pain. So it was like, oh, I can't be a victim and a master. Well, I want to be a master. I don't want to be a victim, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I am going to embrace this as a gift, as an opportunity to grow progress on my spiritual path, right?
Yeah.
I'm listening to these incredibly profound audio tapes, and I'm doing soul searching, you know? Why did this happen? Because, you know, I guess stress is one of the things. And I'm like, because I am stressed out, because I'm spreading myself too thin, and I'm kind of frantic. You know, I've got like 6 computers going at once. I got like, you know, I'm doing editing on this one, social media on that one. I'm like, you know, whatever on the other. Social media is definitely, you know, on another one. Did I say that? Anyways, I've got all these computers going at once, and I'm like, you know, running from one to the next, to the next, to the next. And then I've got all these events coming up. And so I'm like, you know, traveling and trying to juggle all these balls. I'm getting up early and going to bed late. And finally I was like, okay, this is what happens when you push. So lesson learned, let it flow. And another thing that happens when you push is you come up against resistance. And then suddenly you wonder, why does everything seem kind of stuck all of a sudden? Because you're pushing, pulling it, you know? Sit in your shrine space, tune in, and let the divine synchronicity flow. And then everything will start falling back into place again. Ease and grace. So now I'm just taking it easy. I'm like, still getting up, going to my shrine, but I'm just letting spirit guide me to what I'm going to do next. And what am I going to do? And I take my nature walks, and I went to the gym earlier today. You know, I got a chiropractic adjustment. I went to the store and got some healthy food for dinner. You know, it's like, okay, take a deep breath. Everything will get done. Recruit people to team up. You know, together we can do this. You don't have to do it all yourself. You know.
I love that. I think that's great advice.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? Do you have anything else that your own projects or anything that we haven't touched on?
You know, I just really want unity consciousness to prevail on this planet. And so, you know, what I would like to end with is think about whatever it is you can possibly do every day, aside from business, aside from revenue, aside from projects, to just wake up every day and be the best person you can be. And stay tuned into what that is. We know what our weaknesses are. We know places where we can improve, whether it's in our interpersonal relationships, or whether it's just in our relationship with ourselves, and maybe our relationship to source and spirit, you know. Just wake up every day dedicated to going out and shining the brightest light that you can on everyone without judgment. Judgment, that's a big thing. You know, we really need to wake up every day and work on dropping the judgment. And it starts with looking in the mirror. Like, don't look in the mirror and say, oh my God, you know, I'm getting wrinkles, or oh, my hair, you know. No, look at your eyes and realize that person looking back at you is God. You know, you are children. We are. We're children of God. We're source.
Yeah.
You know, we are divine beings. Look in the mirror and look at those eyes looking back at you and go, wow, like, I am a child of God, you know, source flows through me. I'm divine. I'm a divine goddess, you know.
Right. Yes,
and
you are.
Drop the judgment on yourself. And especially, like, if there's a little, you know, if I didn't have 100 failures, I would not have a single success. Like, and you got to get used to rejection too.
Right.
You know? If I reached out to 1,000 people, you know, maybe 50 have really responded in a big way. You know, it's like you really have to be okay with that. and dropping judgment on others, like when you go out in public or with your family. Love your family unconditionally, and be careful not to judge them, especially the spiritual path. My husband's not very spiritual in the way I am. Doesn't mean he's not spiritual. He meditates by working on his car, but I'm not going to in any way judge him or even try to, believe that he has to be in my, do my thing, be spiritual in the way I'm spiritual. So, I think it's really important when you go out in public not to judge other people either, or even when you watch the news. Don't judge Trump, don't judge everybody. Just don't judge anybody, really work on it. That's a hard one when you're driving, right? Don't get upset at the person who cut you off, this, that, and the other. Remember that you're sitting on the freeway with all these other children of God. How blessed are you? How blessed is this experience?
Wow. It's a totally new perspective.
Right? And engage with others. I'll go to the dollar store down the street. I know them all. I know their life story, they're people who have this job, and you're like, hey, how you doing? How's it going? And even if you just smile and brighten their day with some positive inspiration, and even just strangers, you're not goofy about it, but if I'm walking through Walmart, for instance, I'll just nod. Especially if I see someone that looks down, somebody's in a wheelchair, somebody that, I'll just nod and smile. And it's unbelievable the way their face lights up,
Yeah.
And it feels so good.
I love it. It's great. I accept that challenge.
Right? And when you find yourself judging somebody else, notice the thought, right? And let it pass. Put it on a little cloud and let it just float away, and redirect. That's what I talk about in my book. In this book, I give a lot of practical advice for every day, things you can do. Just, random acts of kindness, just to, whatever it is. Redirect is a powerful one. That negative thought comes in, redirect, notice it, and notice how you could redirect it to a more positive thought. And it sounds silly, but the thoughts that come up are so silly. I found myself driving home one day and I'm thinking, God, I'm probably going to get home and my husband's dirty socks are going to be on the ground and he probably hasn't even started dinner yet. I'm like, what am I doing? I just noticed. Well, why am I thinking that's, and I thought, stop. This is a man who, supports you in every way. He's the love of your life. If his socks are on the ground, you should be happy to go and pick them up. How may I serve?
Be happy that he's there to have his socks on the ground.
Right. I'm glad I can pick up your socks. I love you. It's my pleasure to pick up your socks.
Right.
You've been working really hard all day long, to help create this beautiful place we live in. It's just socks, you've dedicated your life to me. But, we all do it. We're all guilty of it. So it's just noticing the thought and going, what am I thinking? And then it's the energy you walk through the door with, right? Do you walk through the door thinking, where's your freaking socks? Did you start dinner? Right away, you're going to be you're not going to say those things.
Right.
He feels the energy right away when you walk in the door. And he's going to be and it's just or you walk in and you go, oh, I'm so glad to be home. I love you so much. And then he's like, really? Maybe I'll pick up my socks and help you make dinner.
Weird how that works out.
That is how it works. And that's a simple analogy. But in the bigger picture of things, this is how it works, right? Intention, loving, kindness, all around. And what happens? It comes right back to full. And then you start living a 5D life. I love that.
Well, our listeners didn't know they were going to get relationship advice here too. You're welcome.
Yes, my dear.
Love that.
So that's my final thought about spreading love and light to create unity consciousness, right?
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Suzanne. You're an absolute pleasure to spend time with.
Aw, thank you. You're amazing, Cheyenne.
Oh,
I am just so blessed to have met you, and I can't wait to see you at our event.
right? It's gonna be awesome. I'm really excited. I'm excited just to surround myself with more people who are doing exactly what I want to help other people do. Wow, what a beautiful soul to have the opportunity to sit down and chat with. Now, at the beginning of this episode, I told you that throughout Suzanne's stories and her experiences, there is a cheat code that echoes, that is the thing I want you to take away from this episode. And if you're still guessing, the answer is connection to people. If you think back to all of Suzanne's experiences and all the stories that she just shared with us, each and every moment when she was low, when she was at the top of her game, the reason she saw as much success and is seeing as much success as she is today is because of the network and because of the relationships that she has built. Suzanne has literally built an entire community of people that support her multiple projects throughout the last couple of decades, you guys, because she cares about people. And at the end of the day, that's the only reason any of us are doing any of the things that we do. You are only listening to this podcast right now because you own or want to start a spiritual based business, which its only purpose is to help people. So at the end of the day, the thing that Suzanne feels like she owes her success to is her network, her connections. And she's not just talking about clients, she's talking about her friends. She's talking about her family, and she's talking about other spiritual entrepreneurs just like you. And so if you take anything away from this episode, you guys, it's time to band together. What I want you to hear is that it is time for us to support each other and for us to help each other reach our soulmate clients and find the people that need our help, because that's the whole reason you're doing this anyway. And so if there is anything I can do for you, or if you want to find Suzanne, reach out to us. You can always reach me at Cheyenne at 5dmarketingsecrets.com. And if you want to connect with Suzanne some more, definitely check her out. You can find her under Suzanne Ross on Facebook or sci-spy.tv. And regarding the upcoming Sedona event, if you haven't bought a ticket and are even a little bit inclined to go to that event, I definitely recommend it. I will be there, Suzanne will be there, and so will several of the other amazing guests that we've had on 5D Marketing Secrets Radio. So if you get a chance to go, please do, and let me know that you listen to this episode when you're there, and come say hi. So like I said, you guys, the whole purpose of this 2-hour episode is to remind you that you're doing this for people, and those people are the way that you will find the success. So connection and network are the answer and the ultimate cheat code to building a powerful and a profitable spiritual practice. Thank you for tuning in to 5D Marketing Secrets Radio. Please remember to subscribe and leave feedback. And if you'd like me to teach you 7 of the most powerful marketing strategies for spiritual business owners in 2019 free, then just go to 5dmarketingsecrets.com and simply download the full report. See you next time.